Hi, this is Joshua Stulman from BrooklynComicShop.com, here to give you a look at some of the Infinity War and Avengers Endgame themes that were played out in the comics over the last 40 years of Marvel comic history. We're going to begin by taking a look at some of the earlier things, and you can see we have a selection of books we're going to go through today. Everything I show you will be available online. If you see anything that you like, you can always email me, info@brooklyncomicsshop.com, or visit our website, brooklyncomicsshop.com. So we're going to start today by taking a look at a little bit of Thanos. Now, this is a reprint of the first Thanos appearance, which was from Iron Man number 55 in the mid-1970s, done by Jim Starlin. Now, Jim Starlin is a really important person in the whole Infinity space odyssey for Marvel, because he really fleshed out a lot of the characters. He created Thanos. He created what is actually the original Drax right here for the Iron Man comic, as well as a lot of the Infinity Gauntlet story. Now, I don't expect a lot of the Infinity Gauntlet story to actually be played out in Avengers Endgame. If any of it is, then this is a spoiler warning, but I don't expect it really to be. Jim Starlin created the character in the 1970s, and you can see here's his signature, Jim Starlin here. Roy Thomas was the editor on a lot of the Marvel stuff in the 70s, and Joe Sinnott, who was their go-to guy for inking famous covers and first appearances, number ones. Joe Sinnott's still alive in his 90s now, but a really fantastic artwork from that classic Marvel style. Now, it doesn't say Thanos is in there, but actually this is Thanos' first appearance. And when he appeared as an Iron Man villain, but quickly went into Warlock. Anything Jim Starlin did, he brought Thanos with. So when he was doing Warlock, Thanos became a major feature of Warlock. Here's Warlock, the yellow DNA alien, originally called Him, created by Jack Kirby, and his alter ego, the Magus, facing off against Thanos. And this has a little bit of Thanos' origin, his original origin from the 1970s. But anything that Jim Starlin did, he brought Thanos along. So when he's doing Warlock, Warlock is there, Thanos is there. When he's doing Captain Marvel, Thanos is brought into Captain Marvel. And when he does his Avengers storylines for the big crossovers, Thanos is there as well. And that was really the original Thanos storyline up to Thanos' death in the late 70s. And you can see here, this is a beautiful cover. This is the only time Thanos appeared in the Avengers in the 1970s, when he's taking them all on. This was a giant cross-series storyline that started, I guess you can say it started in Iron Man, but really went through Captain Marvel, Warlock, and then finally Avengers, and it ending in Marvel 2-in-1 with the death of Thanos. This one is signed by Ron Wilson, the cover artist, and Roy Thomas, of course, the editor on all this intergalactic stuff. And you can see the people going up against Thanos here is Thor, Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Captain America, which is still the core from the movie that you see. Here you'll see big differences. This is Avengers Annual number 7, which is artwork and writing by Jim Starlin. The inking was done by Joe Rubinstein, so here it's signed by both of them. This was the Avengers Annual size, so it's actually a pretty thick book. And you see a lot of the same players you would expect to see, although with a little bit of differences. Thor, Captain America, Iron Man still there, Vision's still here. This is the Captain Marvel. When I say Captain Marvel, we're actually talking about. This is the male version of Captain Marvel, Marvel, who Jim Starlin also wrote for a tremendous run and a great storyline, which would lead up to his death to cancer, which was really important, just as a shift in the reality of comics. Also, here you have the death of Warlock, which is another character very important to the Infinity War story that's actually not being told in the movies. We're going to get into a lot of those differences very soon. So this was leading up to the grand finale of the original Avengers versus Thanos fight. But in the 90s, or I should say at the end of that fight, it saw Thanos being reverted to a stone format and thought dead. And really, for about 15 years, he was pretty dead. There were no stories with Thanos at all featured. Sometimes they would refer back to this Thanos statue when they would talk about Captain Marvel. But he really made no appearances until he started popping up in Silver Surfer around issue 34. And then through that, he became more popular leading up to issue number 50. So about 2 years leading up to 50, which was the introduction of the Infinity Gauntlet, the first of the Infinity series. So where you have Silver Surfer here, also noted signed by Jim Starlin and artwork by Ron Lim, we have Silver Surfer at the very end of this comic book being thrown into Doctor Strange's Sanctorum, and he says, Thanos is coming. Well, you know that from the movie as the Hulk's lines, Thanos is coming, but because Marvel didn't have Silver Surfer's rights, they had to substitute the character for the words, and you're going to see a lot of those issues coming up with trying to tell the Infinity storyline without having access to the characters. So some of the characters that we kind of see in the movie that we don't see in the comic books are examples like the female Ms. Marvel, which is now Captain Marvel, wasn't really a part of the original, either the original Thanos story or the Infinity War storyline. She really is not in the comic book at all, including any Captain Marvel, because at this point Captain Marvel's actually dead. So you don't see any of them involved in the original Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, or Infinity Crusade stories. Groot, another one that's really popular now, and you can see this copy is autographed by Larry Lieber, Stan Lee's brother, who is the co-creator of the Groot character. Guardians of the Galaxy, another great series of characters that just aren't in the original Infinity Gauntlet. Groot is not a character that even exists in Marvel in any real way during that time. So it's something that was put in for the movie because people just enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they were working in that Marvel framework of movies. Black Panther, now this is the 1970s from his original storyline. It's autographed by Don McGregor, who wrote a lot of the really great Wakanda-themed stories that the movie came from, but he wasn't really a major feature at all in the Infinity War. In fact, I don't believe he even made a guest appearance. But here in the movies, he's a big background character. He comes to the foreground. You have a battle scene taking place on Wakanda. Very different than the movie versions. Very different than the comic book versions. Along with that, you have the Thor's hammer in the movie, Stormbreaker, which actually is not Thor's hammer. It's actually Beta Ray Bill's hammer, and this is part of that introduction here by Walt Simonson in the 1980s. Was not used in the Infinity storyline from the comic books, but makes an appearance in the movie. Now, the Infinity and Endgame stories that are being told in the movie are based on a mixture of different comic book stories and properties. And here you have an example of an Avengers team that's comprised of Wolverine, Spider-Woman, Spider-Man, what would be Captain Marvel, and of course Ronan. Now Ronan is featured in the Endgame movie. He's Hawkeye. It's not really that big of a surprise since they ruined it in the trailer, although I would have liked to see them play it up. Ronan was a feature of the Secret Invasion storyline, which was a totally different storyline about Skrulls. So you can see how they kind of mix things together. Same with Spider-Man in his Iron Man costume. Well, that was really from Civil War, but we saw it play out in the Infinity War movie. And I don't know if they'll have it in Endgame as well, although I'm sure they will want to give Spider-Man a different costume. Here is his first appearance in the Iron Man-inspired costume from Civil War. Now, characters, there's a lot of characters that are in the Infinity comics that have nothing to do with the movies. Sleepwalker is a good example. This was a tie-in to the original Infinity Gauntlet series, the first one. He just doesn't exist in Marvel yet, so he's not featured in any of the movies. Although, here we have a first appearance of Nebula. And while she's not on the cover, this is actually her first appearance in obscure Avengers book, number 257, from the mid-1980s. It's a beautiful John Byrne cover. It does also feature Star Fox, who's another intergalactic character related to Thanos, that's a really important character for any Thanos type story that's just not included in the Avengers Endgame. So in the 1990s, Jim Starlin returned to his Infinity and Thanos storyline, and he did the Infinity Gauntlet, the Infinity War, and the Infinity Crusade. And so you have the cover of the Infinity Crusade in front of you, and this was the third part of his trilogy of Infinity series, at least the original ones. And you see it's autographed by Jim Starlin. It's also autographed in silver by Ron Lim, who was the artist on both the Infinity War and the Infinity Crusade. And I believe he did some inking on the Infinity Gauntlet, but I'm not quite sure. You have a lot of characters that you see from the regular Marvel movies that you would expect: Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Doctor Strange. There's going to be a lot of characters that you don't see. For legal reasons, it's probably going to be all the X-Men characters. So you got Wolverine, Rogue, Storm. They're all going to be gone. Fantastic Four is also going to be gone. Silver Surfer is going to be gone. And this little guy from Alpha Flight, which is an X-Men offshoot, going to be gone. As well as She-Hulk, who also won't be featured a lot because of the tie-up between New Line Cinema, Universal, and Marvel Studios. So those are legal people that aren't going to be there, but there's also some story people that aren't going to be here. You're not going to have Adam Warlock. Well, I shouldn't say you're not going to. You may not have Adam Warlock. He was alluded to in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. This is Aisha from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Here she's the character Her, also called Aisha, and this is really her story. You will have Gamora, who is from Guardians of the Galaxy. This is what she looks like in the comic books. Moondragon probably won't make an appearance in the movies, but her and all of her intergalactic characters like Star Fox most likely won't be in the Infinity storyline. And here you have the white version of the Vision, which apparently has been alluded to may or may not happen in the Endgame movie. This version of Vision was created by John Byrne when he did the West Coast Avengers, and it's a very cold version of Vision. He loses his humanity, symbolized by the loss of color, becomes more or less an emotionless computer. At the time was married to Scarlet Witch, and you see how his loss of humanity affects their relationship. A really sad storyline that is seeping into, at least visually, into Avengers Endgame. Now, I don't know whether this character will make his appearance or not, but Eternity is one of these intergalactic characters created by Steve Ditko, carried through in the Marvel Universe. He'll pop up every once in a while, especially in intergalactic things. He's basically comprised of thousands of stars and planets in the shape of a man, which is Eternity. So hopefully we'll see a strange character like that. Some more of the intergalactic beings that live in the Marvel Universe show up or make reference to. But we will definitely be seeing some of that in the next series of movies. And here you have Star Fox, who's related to Thanos, fighting as an Avenger, which you probably won't see in Endgame. However, the person giving him aid here is Cersei. And Cersei is important because she is a member of the Eternals. The Eternals, while haven't made an appearance yet, they're a world of characters known as the Celestials. These godlike beings were referenced in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. In fact, the head of a Celestial is the home planet base of a lot of the underworld activity in the beginning of the movie. So these definitely are beings that are present in the Marvel Universe already. And then the next phase of Marvel movies, you'll see a little bit more of her and the Eternals comic book by Jack Kirby, which we'll see. Well, we really don't know what the story will be, but we do know who's playing Cersei, and that's going to be Angelina Jolie. So that was revealed recently, and it's very cool to see that they're moving forward with some of Jack Kirby's more lesser-known properties and giving them more prominence. That's pretty much what we have for today. Sorry if there was any spoilers, though honestly, nobody's seen the movie, so it's kind of hard to spoil anything that you haven't seen. I do hope that we've given some perspective on the differences between the comics and the movies and where there was crossover. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. If you like anything you saw in the videos, you can visit our website, brooklyncomicsshop.com, for vintage comics, signed exclusive, prints, artwork, action figures, and much more. brooklyncomicsshop.com. Thank you for watching.